Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us again. Today, we have a new story that takes us from Melbourne to the colorful streets of Thailand. It's about a man navigating life after a challenging divorce. In his search for something new, he takes a spur of the moment trip that brings him unexpected friendships and a deeper understanding of himself. Let's explore how one adventure can turn everything around. But before we start, please make sure to like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe so you stay updated on our new stories. All right, let's jump right in.
In 2017, I was 40 years old and living in the busy heart of Melbourne, Australia. I felt like my life was slipping away from me. My job in corporate finance paid well, but it left me feeling drained and unfulfilled. Each day was the same, filled with meetings and paperwork that made me feel empty. The bigger struggle, though, was my recent divorce. After 10 years of marriage, my wife and I had grown apart. What once felt like a stable life began to shift as our dreams and goals changed. Despite my efforts to reconnect, she became restless, and eventually, our marriage fell apart. When she moved out, it felt like I lost not just my partner, but also a part of myself. Living alone in my empty apartment was tough. The quietness reminded me of the good times we had shared, pictures on the walls and her favorite candle still giving off a familiar scent. It was during these lonely moments that I realized how deeply I had been hurt, not just by the divorce, but also by a growing sense of emptiness in my life. I felt like I was just going through the motions, longing for purpose and connection in the midst of all the chaos. The months after the divorce felt like a blur. I kept myself busy with work, taking on more projects and staying late at the office, hoping it would help me forget the pain. But no matter how hard I worked, the emptiness followed me home. I would lie in bed at night, unable to sleep, with my mind racing about what went wrong and what my future looked like now. Weekends, once filled with shared plans, were now empty and quiet. I tried to fill the time with new hobbies. I took cooking classes, tried photography, and joined a gym, hoping that staying active would help. I met up with friends for dinner and drinks, but even though I was surrounded by people, I still felt alone. I went on a few dates, hoping to feel some kind of connection, but it never seemed to work. No matter what I tried, it felt like I was stuck in one place, unable to move forward. It was like I was running on a treadmill, always moving, but never getting anywhere. One evening, feeling restless, I was scrolling through social media when I came across some photos from an old college friend. He had just come back from a trip to Thailand, and his pictures immediately caught my attention. In every photo, my friend looked so happy and full of life, more than I had seen in him for years. I decided to message him just to ask how his trip went. I thought he'd say it was nice, but instead he was really excited and couldn't stop talking about it. He described Thailand as a place that felt like a completely different world. He talked about the friendly people, the rich culture, and the stunning views, from the busy streets of Bangkok to the calm, beautiful beaches on the islands. His excitement struck a chord with me. It sounded like the perfect escape, a chance to get away from everything and experience something new. As we kept chatting, I found myself imagining what it would be like to go there, how it might help me feel alive again, just like it did for him. I had never been much of a traveler. Sure, I had taken a few vacations, but nothing too far or adventurous. Yet my friend's excitement about Thailand really caught my attention. Maybe it was the idea of having an adventure, or maybe it was just my need to escape the boring routine of my life. Whatever the reason, I found myself thinking about going to Thailand more and more. Before I knew it, I was looking up flights and travel guides. The more I read, the more I wanted to go. It was nothing like what I was used to, but that was exactly what excited me. So I booked a solo trip 1 week in the lively city of Bangkok, followed by another week in Chiang Mai. The idea of traveling alone made me a bit nervous, but it also filled me with excitement. I had no idea then that this decision, made almost on a whim, would change my life in ways I couldn't imagine. The moment I arrived in Bangkok, I was hit by a wave of new feelings. The heat wrapped around me like a thick blanket, making me feel warm and a bit sticky. The air was filled with the delicious smell of street food, grilled meats sizzling on hot grills, spicy dishes, and something sweet I couldn't quite identify. As I stepped outside the airport, I was greeted by the lively chaos of the city. The streets were full of energy, with the sounds of honking motorbikes, laughter, and vendors calling out to people passing by. Brightly colored tuk-tuks zoomed past, their drivers skillfully weaving through traffic. Everywhere I looked, there were colorful signs and stalls overflowing with fresh fruits, souvenirs, and clothes. The mix of movement, color, and noise was overwhelming but also exciting. I felt a rush of curiosity and possibility, as if I had entered a brand new world. My senses were alive, taking in everything: the warmth of the sun, the vibrant colors around me, and the lively atmosphere. It was a big change from my quiet life back home, and for the first time in a long while, I felt hopeful about the adventures that lay ahead. For the first few days, I did all the typical tourist things, visiting the Grand Palace, wandering through the crowded Chatuchak Market, and taking in the chaos of Kahosan Road. I was enjoying myself, but there was something hollow about it. The city felt like a whirlwind, and I couldn't quite find my place in it. When I arrived in Chiang Mai, everything started to change for me. Compared to the busy streets of Bangkok, Chiang Mai felt much slower and calmer. The old city was full of ancient temples, each with beautiful designs and rich history. The streets were quieter, making it easy to walk around and enjoy the sights. The mountains surrounding the city added to the peaceful feeling. I loved looking at the green hills and thinking about exploring them. The air felt fresher, and life moved at a more relaxed pace. I stayed at a small guest house in a lovely neighborhood. It was surrounded by gardens filled with colorful frangipani and sweet-smelling jasmine flowers. The scent of the flowers filled the air, and I could hear the gentle sounds of nature. Every morning, I woke up to the soft chirping of birds and the rustling of leaves, feeling more at ease than I had in a long time. At the guest house, I met friendly staff and other travelers who shared their stories with me. I felt a sense of community and connection that I had missed in Bangkok. Here, I could take my time, reflect on my journey, and truly enjoy my time in Thailand. The calm atmosphere and beautiful surroundings made me feel like I had finally found a place where I could relax and just be myself. On my second night in Chiang Mai, I went to a cozy cafe for dinner. The atmosphere was relaxed, with soft music playing and people chatting around me. That's when I met her, Nari. She worked at the cafe, serving drinks and talking easily with customers. Her warm smile made me feel welcome and happy. When she came to take my order, I was surprised at how well she spoke English. Her words flowed easily, and I felt comfortable talking to her. She asked if I was from the area, and I told her it was my first time in Thailand. Her excitement was contagious as she welcomed me and said Chiang Mai was a great place to start my journey. As we chatted, Nari shared her favorite places in the city, hidden temples, local markets, and the best spots for authentic Thai food. She loved her city, and her passion shone through in every word. She told me about the festivals, the beautiful nature, and how friendly the people were. I listened intently, feeling a growing connection with her. That night, as I enjoyed my meal, the cafe felt more alive with Nari's presence. Something about her caught my attention right away. She wasn't very talkative, but there was a calm confidence in the way she moved and spoke. Her graceful actions and genuine smile made it clear that she cared about others. I felt drawn to her quiet strength, which was refreshing in the busy city. Over the next few nights, I kept going back to that cafe, excited to see her again. Each time I walked in, she welcomed me with a warm smile that lifted my spirits. We talked about everything, from her family in a small village nearby to my life back in Australia. She shared stories about her childhood and the traditions of her village, explaining how important family is in Thai culture. I listened closely, fascinated by her experiences. In return, I opened up about my life, my job in corporate finance, the challenges I faced after my divorce, and why I decided to travel. Nari was genuinely interested in what I had to say. She asked thoughtful questions that showed she was really listening. Her curiosity about different perspectives made our conversations even more enjoyable. Most importantly, Nari made me feel seen. In her presence, I could be myself without any worries. She created a safe space where I could share my thoughts and feelings without fear of judgment. After a few days of talking with Nari, she invited me to visit her village, which was about an hour's drive from Chiang Mai. I hadn't planned for this, but I was excited about the idea. I wanted to see a different side of Thailand, beyond the usual tourist spots. Nari described her village with such warmth. She talked about the green rice fields, the friendly people, and the beautiful mountains nearby. She mentioned how everyone in the village knew each other and came together for festivals and celebrations. Her enthusiasm made me even more curious. The next morning, Nari and I set off on motorbikes, riding through the lush green hills around Chiang Mai. The fresh air felt great, and I could smell the earthiness of the countryside as we traveled. The roads twisted and turned, lined with tall trees and colorful flowers, creating a beautiful scene. After about an hour, we arrived at her village. It was small and charming, nestled among wide rice fields that swayed gently in the wind. The village had wooden houses and dirt roads, which added to its rustic feel. As soon as we got there, Nari's family welcomed me like an old friend. Her parents, brothers, and cousins came out to greet us with big smiles. They insisted on feeding me, bringing out a variety of homemade dishes that I couldn't even pronounce. Each dish looked colorful and smelled amazing, filled with fresh ingredients from their garden. I happily devoured everything, enjoying the delicious flavors and the laughter around the table. Nari took me for a walk through the fields, and the sweet smell of jasmine filled the air. It felt peaceful, almost like time had slowed down just for us. The sun was shining, and a gentle breeze rustled the leaves around us. As we walked, Nari shared stories about her life growing up in the village. She talked about the simple joys of village life, like playing with her friends in the rice fields, helping her parents in the garden, and celebrating local festivals. It was clear these memories were very special to her. Nari described how strong the sense of community was in her village. Neighbors looked out for each other, and everyone came together during important events, cooking and celebrating as one. She emphasized how important it was to feel connected to those around her, a feeling that often faded in the busy city life she experienced. She also expressed her desire to balance the traditions of her upbringing with the opportunities she found in the city. Nari wanted to use her education and experiences to help her village while still preserving its rich culture. Listening to her made me feel inspired by her passion and determination to connect her two worlds. I began to appreciate the beauty of both the village life she loved and the vibrant city life she navigated. As the sun began to set, it filled the sky with beautiful shades of pink and orange. Nari and I found a spot by a small river, sitting on the grassy bank and dipping our feet into the cool water. The gentle sound of the flowing river made the moment feel peaceful, and I relaxed completely. For the first time, Nari looked serious as she turned to me and said that I seemed different from when I first came to the cafe, almost like I was carrying less weight. Her words surprised me, but they struck a chord. I hadn't noticed it until she mentioned it, but she was right. I felt lighter, as if the invisible burden I had been carrying for so long had finally lifted. In that moment, I thought about how I had changed since arriving in Thailand. The stress and sadness from my divorce were starting to fade. I had come to Thailand for a brief escape, but here in this quiet village, sitting beside Nari, I felt something shift inside me. It was like I was finally beginning to let go of the pain I had carried for years. As we sat together, watching the sun go down, I realized I was starting to appreciate the present moment. I felt thankful for Nari's kindness and the experiences we were sharing. This was a turning point for me, a chance to reconnect with myself and think about what really mattered. Over the remaining days, Nari and I spent more time together, exploring the city and its surrounding temples. Each morning, we rode our motorbikes, excited to discover new places, and at night, we shared our stories under a sky full of stars. This brought us closer. However, as my departure date got closer, I started to feel anxious. The thought of going back to my life in Melbourne weighed on me. I remembered the responsibilities waiting for me, my demanding job, my empty apartment, and the pressure to move on from my past. It all felt overwhelming. Yet part of me didn't want to leave. The connection I had found with Nari felt unique, something I hadn't experienced in a long time. The peace of the village showed me a different kind of life, one filled with warmth and community. I treasured the moments we shared and wished I could hold on to them a little longer. On our last evening together, Nari and I had a quiet dinner at a cozy little restaurant in the village. The air smelled wonderful, filled with the delicious scents of the food we loved. Soft candlelight flickered on our table, creating a warm atmosphere. Neither of us brought up the future. Instead, we focused on enjoying the moment, feeling the bond we had formed over the past few days. There were no big declarations of love or promises. We both knew that my life in Melbourne and her life in Thailand were very different, with separate responsibilities and dreams. As dinner came to an end, I could feel the weight of our upcoming separation. When it was time to say goodbye, Nari reached into her bag and took out a small necklace. The pendant was simple and made from polished wood. It felt warm in my hand as she handed it to me. She explained that it was meant to bring luck and to remind me of this special place and the time we spent together. I held the necklace tightly, knowing it meant a lot. It wasn't just a piece of jewelry, it symbolized our connection and the memories we had made. As we said our goodbyes, I saw sadness in her eyes, just like in mine. It was a bittersweet moment, filled with thankfulness for our time together and sadness for the distance that was coming. The wooden pendant felt like a piece of her that I could carry with me, reminding me of the beauty of our brief but meaningful time together. Back in Melbourne, life went back to normal. I returned to my job, followed my usual routine, and did the same things I had always done. But this time, something felt different. It was as if the trip to Thailand had changed how I saw everything. The same job, the same people, the same city, but I no longer felt stuck in my old life. Exploring new places, spending quiet moments on the beach, and talking with Nari had opened my eyes. I realized there was more to life than just working and following a straight path. It wasn't about falling in love or running away from my responsibilities. What Thailand and meeting Nari had shown me was that the world is much bigger than I had thought. There were more choices, more ways to live. I didn't need to quit my job or move somewhere far away to feel free. It was about changing the way I thought, being open to new experiences, and not being afraid of the unknown. For the first time, life didn't feel like it was all planned out, and that gave me a sense of freedom I didn't know I needed. I've returned to Thailand a few times since that trip. Each visit feels like I'm reconnecting with a part of myself. Every time I go, I make sure to visit Chiang Mai. There's something special about that city, the mountains in the distance, the smell of jasmine and incense in the air, that keeps drawing me back. Even though Nari and I haven't stayed in touch, I always find myself thinking of her when I walk through those jasmine-scented streets. Thailand has become more than just a place to take a break. It wasn't only about escaping my daily routine, it was where I learned that life doesn't have to stay the same. The habits and routines I had gotten used to suddenly felt less important, less fixed in place. Thailand showed me that there are many different ways to live and think, and that I had the power to change my life if I wanted to. It gave me more than just happy memories. It gave me a new way of seeing the world. I realized that I could live differently, that change is possible, and that the world is full of new possibilities if you're open to them. I'll always be thankful to Thailand for that. It didn't just change how I see life, it changed how I live it. Thanks for being here and listening to my story. It's something I carry with me every day, and I really hope it sparks something in you as well. We all have moments that challenge us to grow and see things differently. Sometimes it just takes a small step in a new direction. Whether it's through travel, trying something new, or simply shifting your mindset, I encourage you to keep your eyes open for those moments. They can really surprise you just like they surprised me. Thanks again for being here and letting me share this journey with you. Take care.